feeling of excitement when we receive a box full of precious plants that you are desperate to put in your garden. However, both the weather and the time of year mean that it's just that bit too early, and planting them out now would just risk them for the rest of the year. So what do you do between receiving your plants and actually being able to plant them out? Well, today I'm going to show you exactly what I do with mine, which is a really, really easy, straightforward way of looking after your plants until it's time to put them outside. If you are a fan of dahlias, you will probably have heard of this company. I came across them a couple of years ago. As you know, again, if you've been watching my channel, I only sort of came round to dahlias a couple of years ago, and then the last year or two, I've just absolutely adored having that spot up by the greenhouse, which just gets absolutely full of bees and butterflies and all sorts of things, and the colours of dahlias are just absolutely beautiful. So when Farmer Gracy offered to send me a pack of dahlias, I jumped at the chance, and straight away I began to think where I could expand my dahlia collection. So that bit that I was talking about, the no-dig beds, is now going to be particularly for dahlias. They might have the odd bit of cosmos in, or verbena as well, but primarily that is going to be, if I say my dahlia patch, it's going to be 2 dahlia patches, isn't it? But yeah, they are all going to go there. So hopefully this summer going into autumn, it's just going to be an absolute riot of colour. But if we have a little look in here, it tells you all about what your dahlia is. So this is Thomas A. Edison. It tells you when to plant it, it tells you where to plant it, it gives you the colour, it gives you the planting depth, and it gives you the height. So it tells you all you need to know in there. And if I open it up, honestly, this genuinely is such a treat. Oh, let's have a little looky. Come on. Be very careful with it. Okay. You can see that the packaging's got holes in the side because it doesn't want the plant to rot. But look at that. Look at that. There is so many bits of tuber on there. And if you've done dahlias before, you will know that at the moment they're these tiny little wizen things, but as soon as they start to take up moisture again, these absolutely fatten up and become really, really healthy. But as it is, too early to plant out, and yet I do not want to keep them in these little packages for much longer. So you're then faced with, well, what do I do with them? You know, do I just put them on a shelf and forget about them till May? No, you don't. I'm going to show you what to do. At the moment, those tubers are just dormant. Okay, that is why they look like a straggly mess of, I don't know, a few little spiders who've had a night out and are worse for wear. They're not looking great. And if you saw this, if you hadn't bought dahlias before and you were sent one of those, you might think to yourself, oh my goodness, that's dead. What have they sent me that for? But as I said, that is just dormant. So what we want to do, as soon as we can, we want to get that into some sort of medium. In this case, I'm going to use some not great compost, but it'll do the job, where we can just sit them on the top, cover them lightly, and let the tubers start to get a little bit, feel a little bit of water, get a little bit moist, and start to think about growing for the coming season. So what I've got, and I've just realised I've got the box right in front of me here. Let's put that there. All I'm going to do, last year or the year before, what I did, I only had a few dahlia tubers. So what I did, I put them all in individual pots, which is fine. But on this occasion, I've got about 18. So if I did 18 big pots in the greenhouse, that's quite a lot. You can do, but rather than that, all I'm going to do is use one of these mushroom trays. Now, if you are in the UK, you will probably be familiar with these. If you are anywhere else, there will be something similar that you can get from your greengrocers, your grocery store. because more often than not they're just leaving them around the back of the shop ready to be taken away. Okay, so this of course is the bit where the batteries have gone in the microphone, and because I was chatting so much and enjoying filling this little tray full of soil, I hadn't checked the battery level, so that was that. So I've got here about an inch, yeah, not much more, of compost in the tray. It's lined with newspaper. That's literally just to stop the soil coming out the sides. And what I'm doing is I'm putting the tuber on top, making sure that I leave the neck of the tuber sticking out the top of the soil. It doesn't matter if all the tubers aren't covered. The idea is to just start getting some moisture in, up through those roots into those tubers that will start to then produce some lovely little growing tips. And once you've settled the soil around the tubers for the next sticking out the top, just give them a light watering. This time we're going from the top because I want it to try and settle the soil, because there'll be lots of little air gaps between those tubers, as you can imagine. So we're just going to settle the soil, preferably with some water that's been left to get to room temperature. Pop a label in, and then you can forget about these until they start to show some nice new growth. And then the beauty of the beauty of using these mushroom boxes, and I've actually did find a couple more. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that until your dahlias or whatever plants you're trying to start off, until they start to sprout, you can just stack them up. Okay, I could have 2 piles of 3. Or I could just go full on, oh, I've just squashed a few, 6, because they, once they're locked into each other, they're not going to move. So actually, considering I've got, I don't know how many dahlia tubers in there, they're not going to take up very much room at all. So here I am with my dahlia mountain. That is the beauty of using these mushroom trays. If you can get hold of them, as I say, always ask first, but they're great because you can store things at the end of the season, and for things like this at the beginning of the season where you're just trying to start things off, they're great because they've got such a small footprint. As I said, you know, you just keep stacking and stacking. I could probably get another 6 on top of there, but wouldn't look very pretty in the middle of the kitchen. What I'm going to do with these now, because I haven't got a heated greenhouse, I've got underfloor heating in the kitchen. So what I'm going to do is find a nice warm spot, which I can usually tell because that's where Rocker usually lies, and put them on there. So they've got warmth coming from underneath, they've got that damp compost, and they will start to think now, coming up to the end of March, it is time they started to think about waking up. The dog's barking. It's not even our dog. So it's like when you know it's time to get up, but you don't really want to, so you keep pressing the snooze alarm till you really, really have to get up. That's what they're doing at the minute. So yes, if you haven't got underfloor heating, and who would, if you've got a heated greenhouse, brilliant, they can go straight in there. If you have an unheated greenhouse or an unheated polytunnel, they'll be fine. Just make sure that if we are due any frosts overnight, any really cold weather, go and put a little blanket over them, a little bit of fleece, just to make sure they're okay. If you haven't got any, again, a bit of newspaper, just to give them that extra layer of protection. Then periodically, I'm going to be checking through, okay, so I can just lift these away from each other, check through and see if they're starting to sprout. Once they are starting to sprout, then I will start separating them, because I don't want them to be sprouting in the dark. You've seen what happens to potatoes when you leave them in the cupboard and they haven't got any light. It's not a pretty sight, is it? So yeah, so we will keep an eye on them, but for now, they should be quite happy like that. And the next time we see them, hopefully, we'll be putting them in the 2 no-dig beds up at the allotment, and yeah, really looking forward to a riot of colour up there this summer. So thank you very much to Farmer Gracy. Come along to the Instagram page, come along to Patreon to see the behind the scenes stuff. Join our Facebook group, give us a like, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye for now.